Good morning. Welcome to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show. I'm Gary Demas, president of Dave Fox Design Build Remodelers right here in Columbus. I'm really glad to have everybody listening in this morning on this January 19th here in wintertime, Ohio. Right, Greg?
Yes, it is. And good to be here.
Wintertime, Ohio. So, Greg, you are our production manager. You're over all the production department. And you've got Dave, who is your field manager.
That's correct.
And then you've got all your carpenters and other project managers. So how many are there altogether?
I think currently we're at 34.
34 people.
In the field, yeah.
Yep.
36 including our in-house plumber and his assistant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. You got quite a crew there.
We do. Pretty big, good crew.
And they can go through a lot of work in a day, can't they?
Yes, they can.
Yeah. So, again, I just want to thank everyone for listening this morning. We have Martin Luther King Day coming up tomorrow. And if you happen to listen to our last week radio show, I was talking to Steve Dempsey. Steve is our sales director and design consultant. So we were just talking about a lot of general remodeling topics from kind of a sales point of view. So that was kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And in case you missed that, you can go to davefoxradio.com. And there you can actually listen to any of our previously broadcast shows. And also, we're getting videos on there, but they're not showing up very well. So hopefully we'll have that fixed really soon. And you'll be able to go there to see any of our past, 7 or 8 shows that have been videotaped. And they are on YouTube, but they're really hard to find on YouTube. If you search for these Dave Fox Design Build Remodelers or Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show, there's a lot of Dave Fox stuff that comes up, but it's hard to find the radio shows there. So
you have to filter through
it's
it.
a lot easier if you go to davefoxradio.com once we get that working good. So folks, hang in there. We're working on it. But if you want to watch in video and you want to see Greg, how he looks, how he acts while he's on video, you can see him.
I really preferred it when it was just radio.
Yeah?
No.
All right. So, again, thanks, everyone, for tuning in. So today we're going to talk primarily about electrical stuff, right, Greg?
Yep.
Because we've covered a number of topics on home remodeling and houses in general, and just really trying to get our listeners some really good information from some very experienced, seasoned personnel, which you would be one of those.
Well, we try to learn from what happened in the past.
That's right. Yeah. It's kind of a history lesson when you tear into old homes, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not only looking at the building techniques, but also the things you find in walls, like really old newspapers or magazines every now and then. That's kind of fun.
Run across all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I haven't run across any cash buried in a wall yet.
I know. It's kind of disappointing, isn't it?
And no gold bullion or anything.
No.
So
we just must be working in the wrong houses.
I guess so. So, Greg, first I'll just let you, I don't know, you've been on the radio show a lot, but maybe there's a new listener this morning. And why don't you just tell a little bit about your background and your responsibilities here at Dave Fox?
Sure, I'd love to. Background comes from at a very early age, running my own business, but learning before that from a couple of great old German guys. So I kind of cut my teeth on trim work with them, and decided that I could do this on my own. And that's when I learned my first lesson. It's not that easy. So I eventually ended up on my own, building custom homes on the east side mainly. I also had 5 framing crews and a couple interior trim crews. That also worked besides the houses. So then the recession hit, and I decided I'm done with this. I'm going to work for someone where they pay the paychecks rather than me having to make the paychecks. So then I cut my teeth on both remodeling and new home construction for most of my career until I came here. Dave Fox, it's probably been about 11 years ago, 12 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when. But a lot of time out there. So I oversee production for our production department. I work with both sales and the ID department in facilitating the front end, trying to get things ready for the start for the production team. And then Dave kind of takes over from there. Once it starts, he's out in the field. He's our eyes and ears and keeping things running out there in the field. And I try to get what he needs to get those started, and they run smoothly.
Yeah.
That's kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle and a lot to manage, and we have a whole lot of projects going on at any given time.
Yes, we do.
So just the logistics involved in that are kind of mind-boggling.
Yep.
So my hat's off to you and Dave for being able to hold all that stuff together and keep
thank
these
you.
jobs on track, and
Thanks, Gary.
all the materials and orders that go along with that.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
It is.
Yeah, Greg, you mentioned watching some of the old-timers, the craftsmen work, and how they made it look so easy, and that is so much the truth.
Oh, it is.
These guys that really know their crafts, and you watch them work, it's like, oh my gosh, I could do that. And then you try it and you think, oh, this is a lot different than what I expected.
Yep.
And it reminds me of when I was in high school. One summer, I helped a friend of my dad's. He was building a new home, and he was kind of general contracting it himself. And he hired an old Italian brick mason.
Ooh.
His name was Tony.
Yeah, there you go.
I was just a young kid, and here's Tony. He was kind of retired from it, but he was a stone mason and brick mason. So he laid all the block for this home. He laid all the brick on the house in a stone fireplace.
Wow.
So it was amazing to watch him work. And I mixed mud for him and carried buckets of mortar all over the place and carried bricks and you name it. But it was fascinating to watch him, especially I remember when he was building the fireplace. And it was out of course, real stone,
real rock,
not the artificial stuff. So he'd have this big rock, and he'd need a piece of stone of a certain shape to fit this fireplace. And he had this a hammer chisel type deal.
Right.
A hammer with a wedged end. And he would just hold that stone in one hand and just tap it on the other. And he'd just tap it, tap it, tap it, tap it. He'd turn the stone, tap, 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 just nice and patiently. And all of a sudden it would break right where he was tapping it.
It's an art.
So I tried that once, and I did not have the same results. I just thought, wow, can I do that? And I don't know how he just knew how to read that stone and to tap it just right, and it would break right where he wanted it to.
There's absolutely, we've said this, no replacement for experience.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And speaking of which, we have really a lot of experience on our team, don't we?
We do. We have most of our project managers have been with us for quite a while. I mean, some of them as long as, I think 30 plus years, one of our guys. So most of them are very seasoned, been out there. Like some of us have seen a lot, so that makes them a little bit better,
Absolutely. Yep. And we like to put those people to work on all of our clients' homes and turn out some really astonishing projects.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. So it's nice to work with a great design team and have very creative projects to put together.
Yeah.
And then I know your carpenters really enjoy some of the complex things that we run across.
They do. We get challenged quite a bit between our interior designers and our design team, our salespeople, to come up with some of these projects.
Yeah, makes it a lot of fun.
Yes.
So today our topic is electrical, even though we haven't even touched that yet. But we're going to soon because in homes, obviously, electrical is a big deal. It's a big deal with projects that we put together.
It is.
Room additions, or even if we're just going in and changing stuff in a kitchen or a bathroom. Especially kitchens, electrical can be pretty intensive. With all the different circuits involved and a lot of the lighting today, which is so important. Especially as we age, we need more light, and I've definitely found that out through real-life experience.
Yep.
So a lot of things taken into consideration with electrical. And then the panel, their electrical panel on our clients' homes, are they big enough? Do they have enough circuits for all the new appliances? There's just so many things to consider. So it's going to be an interesting discussion, Greg, as we get into that.
Yep.
Right?
Sure will.
Yep, and both of us have been out there doing wiring ourselves, haven't we? And have kind of learned through the school of hard knocks. So we're going to take a quick break. After the break, Greg, we're going to get right back into it.
All right.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show. I'm Gary Demas. Really glad to have everybody tuned in. If you're listening on the radio, 610 WTVN, that's great. If you happen to be watching our video, then that's terrific too. So we say hi to everybody.
Hello.
watching the video. And again, those are available by going to davefoxradio.com. And there should find a link to the video. Or you can listen to the podcast there as well. So today I'm talking with Greg Reis, and Greg's our production supervisor. And Greg, we want to get into electrical. I know we've talked about a lot of different topics in the home. We've talked, really from the ground up, foundations.
Yes, we have, yeah.
Floors, walls, ceilings, roofing. So we'll talk about some of the mechanicals now. So electrical, why don't you just kind of give a little general overview of, let's say, if someone is planning a kitchen remodel or a room addition, what are some of the electrical considerations they need to take into consideration?
In the kitchen, it's probably how old is the house? What was the original wiring that was used? And is it up to current code? Because once we do a remodel, it has to be up to code. So that means sometimes we have to pull extra circuits for things that are required. There's a lot of code that says certain appliances have to be on their own circuit. They can't be added to an outlet anymore. So there's some upgrades we usually are doing there. One of the other things is to check the amperage in your panel. How large is it? Will it be large enough to handle the new loads? And all that's calculated by our designers when they come out and they investigate how many amps are in the panel. And sometimes that panel is outdated. It's dangerous, actually. It's a safety hazard. And there's a list of panels made by certain suppliers back, a while ago that you cannot use anymore in the house. So if you add a circuit to it,
fire hazard.
That's right. They can actually burn. The panel itself can actually catch fire, the breakers. So we look for all of that. That's just a simple kitchen remodel. So when it gets to the room addition, it's even sometimes tougher. Sometimes we have to add another small panel next to it. Sometimes the service coming in from the outside's in the way of the new addition, and we have to provide a new direction for that service, whether it's overhead or whether it's underground. So we have to sometimes relocate that and upgrade the panel if it can't handle the new amps that we're adding to the current one. So there's a lot of technical things that we kind of have to look at before we give you an estimate and get started on it.
Yeah, when you think about mechanicals in general, you've got HVAC, you've got plumbing, and you've got electrical. So electrical would probably be high on the list of the most potential safety hazards.
Sure can, Gary, yes.
Because you've got wiring, you've got potential arcing or sparking that could potentially cause a fire, or if you've got wires that are carrying too much amperage, they get too hot and they could cause a fire.
Yes.
So that's why, of course, we have all of our projects inspected by the city, and we use licensed electricians because they're trained, because that's not something you want to play with.
No, that's a pretty specific field with some very intricate details that have to be followed.
Yeah. And when you talked about the size of a panel, like if you're working in the kitchen, chances are you might be adding a little more load to the, you might be adding a new appliance or maybe an induction cooktop and might carry a few more amps than maybe the old cooktop or whatever. So you could be adding some power needs in the kitchen, but in a room addition, you're adding all new stuff.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So I remember an electrician years ago explained to me, they gave me a good example of how to imagine what amperage is. They talked about like a hose. So if you have a little fire in a doghouse, you can take a garden hose, right, and put that fire out.
Yep.
But if you have a fire in a home, a garden hose isn't going to do anything. It's not delivering enough water. But a big fire hose, which is much bigger, delivers a lot more water. And that's the same with electricity. It kind of works on the same principle. Very small wattage, only a little bit of electricity can get through that panel. And the more load you add to it, then the larger amperage you need, which is like the bigger fire hose, it's letting a lot more electricity through.
Yep. That's a very good analogy.
That makes sense?
Sure does.
Okay. And then you mentioned some of these panels we have to add alongside the main panel, which really gives us the opportunity to add more circuits.
Yes.
Because today, we're breaking down circuits a lot more than we used to in the past. So every appliance is going to have its own circuit, and that goes on and on, right?
Yeah, and that's a safety thing also that's required.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So we've got, of course, our electric meter base outside, which is where the power comes in. So if someone has to increase amperage, let's say it's an older home and it has just a 100 amp or 150 amp panel. So it means the main wire feeding that house, keep in mind the garden hose analogy,
right.
that hose is smaller and it's not delivering enough electricity for what the people are adding. So describe how that goes and what we have to go through to change a panel.
Yeah, we actually, in most cases, will have our licensed electrician do a new load calculation in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then he will size whatever size that wire is outside to make sure that it's big enough to carry that voltage amperage to the house. So if it's too small, then we're going to have to replace it with, like you said, a bigger hose, or in this case, a bigger wire. And that service wire coming in has to be upgraded to a larger diameter so that it can deliver. So if you add an extra panel, sub-panel to the side of the other panel, you still have to make sure that from that panel you're adding to, you've got enough juice coming in from the pole or the transformer out back.
Yeah. So if people were going to go from a 150 amp to a 200 amp service, most likely they're going to have to change the wire clear out to the pole.
Yes, they are. Yeah. If they're already a 200 amp service, they could probably put a sub panel next to it and good possibility not have to change that service wire.
Yeah. So all that just has to be taken into consideration depending on what kind of remodeling our listeners would be doing and how much load they're actually adding to the electric needs.
Yep.
Yeah. So then you've got different types of feeds to the house. You have overhead wires and you've got underground.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So explain that a little bit.
Most of them in the newer neighborhoods will be underground. There are some cases they're overhead, but the underground runs either from a transformer or actually down the electric pole into the ground and then into the house. And when I say into the house, it actually comes up before it enters the house up into that meter base. And then the overheads are the ones that you have to be very, very careful of. There's a lot of restrictions as to how we build. Can we cross over it? Can it hang over and how much it can and how high it has to be and all that. So overheads, you really get into a lot different situation when it comes to the electric.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's like wherever you would be the most likely place to add an addition on a home, that's where you find the electric meter base, you find the air conditioner there. It's like all these things that have to be moved, or you've got to engineer some way to get them moved so that you can put the addition where it should be.
Yep. True.
Absolutely. So then there's disconnect switches. How do they come into play?
In the new residential codes, you have to have like a main push button breaker for the best part, or an outside. If you're moving a current service to another location, sometimes it'll come up and you'll need a disconnect box. And that's just, you probably pull a 220 to 100 amp fuse out of a box, and that kills everything from the outside of the house where the service comes up to everything inside the house can't get any electricity.
Yeah, so that again is really just a safety feature in case there were an issue somewhere and you got to cut that power quick.
That's
that
correct.
Disconnect box to cut that down.
Kind of like your AC units all have disconnect boxes outside.
Exactly. Okay, so again, we are talking electricity. We're going to be back right after the break. Good morning and welcome back to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show. I'm Gary Demas, president of Dave Fox Design Builder Remodelers here in Columbus, and I'll bet most of our listeners have heard about our company, don't you think, Greg? I mean, we've been around here for quite a while.
I think so.
And occasionally we'll run into somebody that calls us that's not familiar with us, but usually it's because they're new to the area, and that's understandable. But we've been around here for 37 years or 38 years, something like that. Yep,
that's about right.
It's been a while.
It has.
Yeah, so we really love working in Columbus. It's been a great town for us, and it's just a good all-around town with a great
It is. We've been very
team.
blessed. Yes.
That's right. Okay, so we're talking electrical today, and Greg, of course, is our production supervisor, and your experience really with all facets of construction, Greg, all the trades, all the carpentry, in design side, engineering side. You've seen just about everything there is to see. Although I think in remodeling, there's always something new to see, right?
Always.
That's right. It's like once you think you've seen everything, you pull some siding off of the wall and find something that you never dreamed would be there.
Yep.
Or whatever. So regarding electrical, now, we've talked about some of the amperage and panel sizes and the needs of different projects. Let's talk a little bit about how we work through that. Why don't you tell them about our process?
Sure. I think it's a excellent process because we'll meet the client actually after the job's been demoed, tore apart. We've got all the new walls in. If we're putting new walls, we've removed everything, and we're just getting ready to start mechanicals. So we'll have our licensed electrician come out or their representative. We will have the client there. Mm-hmm. We'll actually have our project manager there, the design consultant who sold the project, and our interior designer. And we get them together to do a full walkthrough of the project to make sure that they can place outlets if they want additional outlets. Do they want under cabinet lighting in it if they're doing a kitchen? Mm-hmm. What's the best lighting? Our interior designers will work with, we need to light this area, that area. We'll do maybe a LED here and do, these LED cans over here. So it sounds like it's a lot of people, but you almost need all of them there so that it's consistent, and we also have a good final product. Mm-hmm. And while we're there, obviously with the electrician, he's going to go over the code issues that we aren't sometimes real familiar with, mm-hmm. and can explain things to the client, why we need to do things a certain way, why on islands we have to have an outlet at each end if it's bigger than 6 foot. All those code requirements can be explained at that meeting, and things can be placed. There is some fudge factor with some of that, so they get a say-so in where things go. And it's also for the way they want to live in the space. Mm-hmm. Let's say somebody loves to cook and they have all these crazy appliances. We're going to need more outlets in one area, or maybe a little bit more circuitry to cover all that if they're in there cooking and baking, mm-hmm. and all that. So we use that. We call that our quality control electric QC, so that we get that project off on the right foot when it comes to mechanicals.
Yeah. Some of our listeners might be thinking, well, why don't you just, plan all that out ahead of time? And, obviously we do. We make electrical drawings, and we put in there everything that we think makes sense. And even as we're talking with the client through the design process and they're looking at plans, we talk about electrical.
Yes.
But what we found through a lot of experience is that once that room addition is built, or once that new kitchen layout is right in front of the homeowner's faces, and they're visualizing where all the different appliances will be, and switches and lighting, different things come to mind. Once Absolutely. They're in the real space, they get different ideas, and we just learned that through experience. So yes, we spend a lot of time planning and putting into budget, a good electrical program. But almost always the homeowner will be there and thinking, oh, you know what, I think we need an outlet here, or I think we need a switch here, or a light here. So that's why we spend the time to take that meeting and get everyone together.
Yep.
Because that's your chance to get all the wiring run in the walls before we put drywall on and get it all covered up.
Yeah, we don't like remodeling twice. So
although we've been known to do it a time or two.
It's happened a couple times.
Right. So we also get into older homes where they've got some more ancient types of wiring methods.
Yeah, and that's also a good time at the QC to bring to light those issues. The old, as we call it, knob and tube. It's a ceramic tube that's hole drilled in the stud, stuck in there, and then sometimes even a bare wire runs through that and mm-hmm. is just kind of tied together somewhere in the wall. So, we can use that wiring if it's done correctly into code.
Mm-hmm.
But that's our time at that QC when it's all exposed, when all that wiring is exposed, to get our chance to correct anything we can.
Yeah. Many years ago, back when I was a kid, and I was in a different city, and there were no inspections for any residential work. So you could build anything, you could wire anything. You didn't have to be licensed. And, of course, I kind of cut my teeth in that arena for a while.
Okay.
And learned some electrical stuff, through the School of Hard Knocks and Shocks.
Yes, I'm sure.
And then my cousin, my wife's brother, had a house, and he needed some electrical work done on it, and it was all knob and tube, which I didn't have any experience with.
Yep.
So I was looking at it and didn't understand it, and we changed some wiring around because he wanted to add some lights upstairs or something, and I can't remember any of the details. That was a long time ago. And in case there's a building official listening, this is in an area where there was nothing to do, and I was a young kid. So I remember trying to wire some stuff, and ended up having one switch turn like half of the light in the house, half the lights in the house on and off. And it's like, oh my gosh. So he had to actually hire a real electrician to go in there and fix that.
Oh, geez.
But my wife always teases me about that story, but she's got a funny story about mowing the lawn with the riding mower for the first time for her dad. And she ran it through the rock garden. And for some reason, he never asked her to mow again. So I told her that's why I did that, so that I wouldn't be asked to help people wire
their house ever. Yep.
Right. But I'm sure you've never done anything like that.
No.
Do we ever get into the situation where we have to rewire a whole house?
There's been a few times, Gary, where the knob and tube's been that defective and we can't trace it down or figure out what's wrong with it. And sometimes we've had that request. It's usually in a very older home. It makes some drywall damage or plaster damage. Sometimes you have to pull the trim to get wires here and there. But we've had to do it on a couple of occasions. What we usually run into is some of the new LED fixtures, because of the old knob and tube, don't ground correctly. And what happens is the light doesn't work. You try to dim it, and it kind of flashes on you. So there's a lot of little things that can cause us to have to pull new wiring.
Yeah. And in remodeling, too, we're often adding lights or ceiling fans or something in the existing part of the home. And sometimes it can be a challenge to fish wires up into those areas.
Yeah, it sure can. Yep.
So occasionally we'll cut small holes in the drywall.
Yep.
And let the electrician get those wires up through there, and then we'll have to patch those holes. And hopefully it's not some wall covering that can't be replaced,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There'll be a little bit of painting touch-up, but that just kind of goes with the territory. If you're running outlets or switches or lighting fixtures into existing spaces, that can be challenging to get to.
Yeah.
It is amazing how much they can do without affecting the walls, but
it is. Yeah.
At times they just have to cut a hole in the wall, and that's that.
That's it.
All right, so we're talking to Greg Reis. Greg is a production supervisor at Dave Fox Design Build Remodelers here in Columbus. We're talking electrical. We appreciate everybody tuning in today. Greg will take a quick break, and we'll be right back for our final segment. And welcome back to the Dave Fox Home Remodeling Show. I'm Gary Demas. I'm here with Greg Reis. Greg's our production supervisor. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about electrical today. And Greg, you've been in building trades for a long time.
A few years, yeah.
A few years. I think both of us have. So we're kind of looking at this from the perspective of really a lot of years, and seen a lot of changes over the years, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. It's like things keep getting easier and easier, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, they get more and more complicated all the time.
They do.
Yeah. But, we've got a lot of building codes that are continually changing, and a lot of very safety conscious things, which are good. And the arc faults, I know, have been introduced just in the last few years.
That's correct.
Which was something new. We never dealt with that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so describe to our listeners what an arc fault is.
It's kind of a system that reads milliamperage when it changes. So it's very similar to what we call a grounded GFCI. And what happens with that is it really came about from kids getting shocked in like bedrooms where they'd stick their finger in the outlet or something, a foreign object. Now what happens in that when the amperage changes, and it's just like I said, it's a milliamp, it'll pop the breaker. And most of those, you don't have to change the outlets or push a button. It's usually down in the panel, and it's specially designed. And you just go down there and push a little blue, red, green button, whatever the manufacturer is, and it resets that system. But that will keep our children and other people safe from being shocked. And it's the same thing with if you're using, if you have it and you're using an appliance, and that appliance, whether it's a sweeper or whatever it may be, if it jumps current and creates a shock situation, then the minute that current changes, just real quick, it'll kill that circuit so you don't get shocked.
Yeah. So again, just another safety feature.
It is. Yep.
And when it does trip, it can be annoying, but if it trips like for no reason, or at least we would think that. But they've perfected those. I know when they first came out, they were tripping a lot, but I think they've gotten a lot better now.
Yeah, they were pretty troublesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't really plug an appliance in that had any type of motor on it, and it would pop.
Yeah.
But now they've gotten them down to a science. They work really well.
Yep. Seems like all these new products, when they come out, it just takes a while to get them refined, and then they end up being a very good thing, safety conscious, and keep kids from getting shocked.
Yes.
Good. Okay. As we were talking about running wires and stuff, one of the things we didn't talk about was homes that are built on a concrete slab, which can present some challenges both electrically and with plumbing as well.
Oh, yes. If it's built on a slab and it's a ranch house, then usually all of the wiring runs through the attic, runs overhead, as we call it, and drops down into the wall from overhead. If it's a two-story, then usually you have quite a few what we call home runs that will run from the panel up the sidewall, up and over, whether it's through the floor joists in the second floor, or whether it's up and over and through the attic there also. So it doesn't afford to run down below the panel because it is above grade, so you can't get below the slab. And there are times where when you're planning for something, or if you're doing a kitchen and you're adding an island and it's a concrete slab house, we will literally have to come in and cut the concrete to get the electric over to the island. Yeah. Because you have to have it by code. So, yep.
Yeah, and cutting concrete in an existing home is no fun chore. But we've got a great company that comes in and does that, and they have really good dust collection with that, because sawing concrete creates an enormous amount of dust.
Oh, my, does it? Yes.
Yeah. So we kind of grit our teeth and put our dust masks on and put our Visqueen barrier around there, and then go at it.
Yep, and then clean after we're done.
That's right. Okay, so we mentioned briefly in one of the previous segments talking about lighting some and how important that is today. So let's get on that topic. What are some of the important considerations when people are planning a lighting scheme for their home?
Well, I think how they function and what they do in the space is probably the first thing that I would consider is what's their traffic flow? Where do they sit and read? If they're going to be cooking or prepping in a kitchen, do you need light overhead, a special light in that area, or just enough light to provide so that you're not casting shadows across workspaces? That's usually a big thing. It's just understanding how they're going to be using that space.
Yeah. You remember back in the 70s when we'd have those 2-foot by 4-foot fluorescent fixtures that would mount in the center of the ceiling.
Yeah, and we put a lens over them or something to try.
And it's like we thought, wow, this is really great lighting. And isn't this awesome? We're just giving these clients such good lighting. And now I look back at those days and think, oh my gosh, compared to what we're doing today, that was really archaic.
Yeah, I tore mine out about 5 years ago and put can lights in my ceilings in my kitchen because that just didn't cover enough area.
Yeah, and the can lights have been on the scene for more than 30 years, and they have really worked well.
They have.
They can be placed right where you need them. If you've got a kitchen, they can be put all around your counter space.
Mm-hmm.
So it's putting the light where you need it, as you were mentioning. Especially your task areas, you need a lot of light.
Yep.
And then, shortly after that came the under cabinet lighting, which became very popular. And today it's really very efficient and slick and easy to put in, and it's all LED.
That's
units.
the fantastic part of that.
Yeah, it doesn't heat the cabinet all up.
Right. Neither do your can lights anymore.
Yeah.
If you use the LED can lights, that has changed the temperature in the kitchen quite a bit.
Yeah. And speaking of the LED can lights, now they have these wafer thin, LED units, which I think are amazing, because it used to be we'd have to plan lights around like floor joists or ceiling joists, and maybe we want to put a can light where you would typically drill a hole, and that light would project up into the ceiling maybe 7 or 8 inches. So if there was a joist in the way, you're out of luck. You'd have to put it to the side.
Right.
And you couldn't line the lights up just perfectly symmetrically or exactly where you wanted them. But with these wafer LED lights, they're thinner than the drywall.
They are.
You could literally put them anywhere, and that's really been nice.
It has been.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're not that expensive, but they're super efficient, give off great light. So that's been a huge improvement in lighting.
The other thing is also there's many LEDs with different illuminary qualities. Some are
and color temperatures.
Yeah, color temperatures. So you've got such a large variety now to meet any need or any situation you're trying to create.
So other considerations in layouts would be switches. And I don't think you can run into a scenario where you have too much lighting as long as it's put on different zones.
Yes.
Because it's really nice to have flexibility in lighting. And in a kitchen, you'll have possibly your can lights, which are giving you your task lighting. You could have really nice pendeliers or pendant lights over your island, so that could be on a separate switch and maybe on a dimmer control. You have your under cabinet lights, which then would be on an independent switch. So you have like 3 different lighting capabilities there, and you could put dimmers on really all of them.
Yes.
So it gives you a lot of control over the overall lighting and how you're going to be using the kitchen at the time. And sometimes it's just nice to have the island lights on dim, in the evening when you're watching TV, and you just need enough light to walk through the room without running into the island or whatever. Yeah. Well, Greg, it's been great talking with you today. Really appreciate you being on the show and tapping into your knowledge about all the building experiences you've been in.
Well, thank you, Gary.
Just appreciate all of our listeners tuning in, and many of you have listened for all the 8 years that we've been here, and really are thankful for all the different people and all the comments that we get. So I'm Gary Demas, and we will be back here next Sunday morning at 8.